One, two, one, two. All right, let's roll.
Welcome. You're listening to the Saddle Up Podcast,
where we discuss everything related to UTRGV athletics, past or present. We'll catch up with old teammates, friends, and take you down memory lane
with exclusive interviews.
This is the Saddle Up Podcast,
the voice of your covered walkway streets.
So dope.
This is gonna be awesome.
Stay tuned for new episodes every week.
From Bronx Village to the Fieldhouse,
we'll cover it all.
Hell yeah, dude. Carpe diem.
So saddle up and let's go.
Let's go. Saddle up, partner.
Hey guys, what's going on? Another episode of Saddle Up Podcast. I'm your host, or co-host, Matt Memphis, and I got my main man G Garza with me. G, what's going on, man?
Yes, sir, man. We're back on the saddle again with Coach Schu. And if you don't know Coach Schu, you got to know Coach Schu. If you don't know him, you better know him. And this is the right place to be.
Yep, Coach Tom Schuberth is joining us this week. Obviously, you see me. I'm in a different location. I'm outside now, ladies and gentlemen. So, Coach Schuberth, you have been one of the guests that we've been trying to get on the show for a while now. We're in our third season now, and thank you so much for joining the show, Coach. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. And first of all, thank you guys for having me on. And you must have not tried very hard, Matt, because I'm easy to find. You know, old retired coach, you're looking for stuff to do. So been living here, and I'm actually in Bryan, Texas, which is right near College Station.
Exactly.
And last 6 years, I got married about 5.5 years ago to a lovely lady.
Wow.
That's what got me moving to Bryan, and I've been here since we've been married. So love the area, and I still make it down to the valley. As we talked earlier, I still get down there, and certainly changed since I've been there. My last year was 2009, and so I've seen a lot of changes for the better, and I always enjoyed my time down there.
Now, you coached, I wanted to talk about you living in Bryan, right? Do you ever go to any of the high school games at Bryan High School? Because Big Chris Jones is the high school girls coach at Bryan High School, and he was an alma.
Yes. I run into some guys that have Pan Am, or I call it Pan Am, background.
Yeah, it's all.
Always be Pan Am to me, but yes, I don't go to many of the high school games. I go to most of the Aggie games. I work for a group called Texags. I'm like the basketball analyst, so I do a scouting report each day, before each game, and then I on the TV and radio once a week talking about Aggie basketball. So yeah, I run into a lot of Aggie players. I run into a lot of ex Pan Am guys, and I'm around. So I see a lot of ex-players for sure.
I love it.
Coach,
I love
Coach, it. What'll it take for the Aggies to pull you out of retirement? Go coach for them.
Well, that's interesting, Coach Garza. The first thing, I miss coaching, certainly. When you've done it as long as I did, I never felt like I had a job. And I know you guys coach, and you know how it is. It's more of a hobby than anything. But it's so time demanding, and I made a decision to get married 6 years ago. At the time I worked with the Harlem Globetrotter organization. I was going to pop back into college coaching and decided not to. But, I would love to work in a situation where it wouldn't take me away from home, and that would be a thing. The Aggies are doing a good job. They're an up and down team right now. In fact, I was just doing the scouting report for on the Arkansas game that they play tomorrow. But I'm a believer in God. I think timing is everything. God's got a place for you, and if it's meant to work out, another the right coaching opportunity will come about for me.
That's beautiful. Beautiful.
You're deserving of all the blessings, Coach, because when you first got to Pan Am, I can say this: when you first got to Pan Am, you welcomed all the alumni and all the past, former athletes, and you wanted to kind of welcome us into the program, and for that, I'm as an alum, I'm forever grateful. So, you're definitely deserving.
Well, thank you, Matt. And your program's only as good as your ex-players and the alumni. And when I took the job, it was 06, '07 was my first season, and they didn't have a great success the two prior years. And so you're trying to change the culture. And I'll be honest, I just wanted to win. So sometimes you make some mistakes, or you're not as maybe courteous to people, or you don't spend enough time because all you're focused on is trying to win basketball games. And that happens to a lot of coaches. Now, I've never been rude to anybody, and I always love folks that want to follow your program, particularly guys like yourself that have played there. I mean, you're really the reason why that program is thriving. The guys prior to when I got there, and even now, it's all about ex-players. So I loved it, and I loved players coming out. As you remember, Matt, you came by and visited with many of the guys. I always had open practices. Looking back at it, it was probably not very smart. I'm kind of an open book, but when you do that, you make yourself vulnerable to people that want to get you, and that sometimes happens. But I always liked having open practices because I was never ashamed of how our staff was going to treat the players, and I was hoping someone was interested enough to come and maybe pick up a new idea. I go to practices all the time to still try to steal good ideas.
What's funny about that staff, like I remember vividly, because I worked some of your camps, some of your summer camps, but I remember that one year you had Coach Ben Johnson and you had Coach Lance Madison on your staff. Now, obviously, I'll get into Coach Madison in a second, but Coach Ben Johnson went on to coach at the University of Minnesota, who's the head coach now. So kudos to him. Shout out to Ben. But Coach Lance Madison ended up coaching my son in junior college at Lamar State Port Arthur.
I love it. Well, Matt, what I tell guys, and there's another man that I had in my staff that's he's a Division I head coach right now, Grant Leonard. He's at Queens College. But I tell those guys, hey, whether they like it or not, they're part of my coaching tree. So I brag on them. But sometimes guys don't really want to be part of your coaching tree. And one thing I tell about Ben Johnson, as you know, he was a very talented young man, unbelievable individual. He was my first hire ever, and so if I told you guys, and I'm going to say it, I always said, do you know how much money I had to hire assistants back in 2006? $78,000. Now, Coach Garza, don't get excited. It wasn't 78 for one guy. Three. So, and
that's tough. That's tough.
So if people think these coaches are getting rich, they were doing it for an opportunity, and we loved it. I mean, we had fun. Ben was so good. He had a chance to leave after his first year. And I said, Ben, you can make more money. You're going to a couple more established programs. But I gave him a lot of responsibility because he was really good. He brought something to the table different than what I did as a coach, and he stayed. And we won that year the independent championship or whatever. And Ben was a reason why, and the whole staff was. We had a good staff camaraderie, as you know, Matt.
Wow. You did. We were around that time. Yeah, we did.
What were some of the players, Coach, that you recall? Kind of, share with the audience some of the players that helped you with that success during that year.
I just named right off the bat with Dex and Paul Stahl. Can I name those two?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, of course.
Well,
we've already had them. We've already had them on the show. Those dudes are superb, excellent individuals.
Man. And they talk so highly of you.
Well,
they do.
And I have incredible memories of those guys, and I'm glad they do. And I was a little different. I think I coached for it was 20, maybe 25 years or so, or close to it, before I got my first Division I head coaching job. So every time I was an assistant, I was trying to prepare. And when I got that opportunity, I knew what I wanted to do in running the program. And one of them was be very transparent with the players. Sometimes, as you guys know, you got to tell young people things they don't want to hear. But I was always, I just told them, hey, this is what I think's best for the program. I was hired here to make you guys better basketball players, better people, and just as important, win basketball games. So sometimes you hurt their feelings. But one of the things that I have to tell you, I inherited a good group of guys Colin, you remember that name? Colin was great for us.
7-footer, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
The traders, I had those guys. They did a great job for us. So our first year, I think they won 4 Division I games the year before we got there, and we were able to, win 15 our first year. And it was the reason why we added some good guys, Paul Stoll and Brian Burrell being 2 of the guys, but we had a nucleus, and those guys were good people. High character, and that's why we were successful. And I loved my experience. I remember we were trying to finish over 500, and unfortunately, we fell 1 game short. But then the next year, we had a really good season.
Yeah, you did. You did.
Yeah,
you did.
What game kind of sticks out in your mind? You want to kind of take us through memory lane a little bit and kind of give us like a highlight of a game that you remember that you want to share?
Coach G, there's several. I tell this story towards the end of my career. We were independent all 3 years I was there, so you guys know how difficult that was. I wish we were in conference, and if I was able to stay longer, I wish I could have experienced that. But my last year, we weren't that good, but we were young, and we had to go play at all. And Auburn had just beaten like Tennessee at Auburn, and then they were going to play Kentucky the game after us. So we were that feel-good game in between, and Jeff Lebo was the coach. And so I had an assistant who I loved named Bruce Martin. I don't know if you guys remember Bruce. Bruce was with me the last 2 years, and so we were preparing for the game, and we didn't think we had a great chance of winning, but we went in there. And one of our best players, Emmanuel Jones, wasn't going to play. He got hurt. We were on the road for like 7 or 8 straight days playing games. So Emmanuel wasn't going to play. So we go to Auburn, and I told Bruce, sometimes we changed our starting lineup just to try to motivate a guy, not demote. Really, and those guys. So what happened was I told Bruce I wanted to start Nathan Hawkins, and he ended up starting the other guy. I said, Bruce, what happened? And it was no big deal, but so we end up start the game, and we fall behind 13-0. And the whole time I'm still mad at Bruce because he didn't put Nate in there. If we had Nate, we went behind 13-0. So I'm thinking this is going to be a long night. Well, anyway, we kept chipping away. I think we cut it to 3 or 4 at half. We ended up taking the lead late in the game, and we lost by 3 and had a shot at the buzzer that almost went in to tie it. But my point was, it's funny how those guys, they just went in there with a good attitude. And Auburn had a good team. They didn't make the tournament that year, but they ended up beating Kentucky the next game after that. So that was one of the fun ones, even though we lost. But, beating some teams where you got paid. We beat James Madison when they were pretty good. And just some of the home games. I remember we started off my first season, we were 10-0 at the house. Before we got beat. And the only problem was we never had a lot of home games. We had to go on the road and raise a lot of money. And I'm not complaining. I knew that going into it, kind of try to raise more money than they asked me to. And at the same time, give our guys a legitimate chance to have, good outcomes. You don't want to go play 50 straight guarantee games against Power 5 teams. Expect, guys are going to feel good about themselves. So.
And a lot of people, like, if you're not kind of on the inside or experience that, a lot of people don't understand what a guaranteed game is or money games, right? And so the fact that you navigated that to where you had to play the bigger schools and get paid to play them, but plus also, kind of curating that schedule to where you could get some W's and some home, home games. I think you did a marvelous job. So kudos.
But how about getting paid and almost beating Auburn? That would have been awesome, man.
Yeah.
Right to the bank. Yeah.
When you're independent, you can play pretty much any time, So the nice thing about being an independent, you can pick your dates of when you go on the road. So teams were always desperate at certain times of the year. And we, back then in 06, 07, 08, 09, we were getting $100,000 a game to go play. And that was a lot of, teams are getting that now, but back then it was not as common to do it all the time. So we had 3 or 4 games where we got paid $100,000. It would take us maybe 10 or 12 to get there, with if it was a plane flight or whatever. But we tried to make our road games fun and have a good time. And one year, our second year, we won 18 games. We were 7-3 at home. And so we won 11 games away from home. And I used to say, Duke doesn't do that, because Duke didn't play 11 games away from home, know.
Yeah.
So it was a fun year that season for sure.
Yeah, Coach, that's awesome. Now, I don't want to cut into G's questions, but
you never would, man.
Yeah, you spent 3 years.
Don't be rude.
And you spent 3 years down there. Where was the go-to spot for food for Coach Schuberth?
Well, if you saw my waistline increase from about 32 to maybe 36, I loved eating everywhere. It's funny, Matt. I love good food, and the Valley certainly has a lot of nice restaurants. And I'm embarrassed to forget names, but it's the restaurant near the interstate, and it has also like a little nightclub attached to it. It's a steakhouse, and I can't even think. I'm sorry.
Santa Fe Steakhouse.
I love the Santa Fe. That was nice. And you can't find a Mexican restaurant in the bad. You can't find a bad one. They're all good. So, but I love eating. Unfortunately, one of my go-to lunches. Where the campus. I used to send the guys out every now and then to get us a salad from Jack in the Box. They had good salads there at Jack in the Box. And then one thing I tried to do, and it didn't always work out, but I said, I remember in the years, I always wanted to take my guys out to lunch once a week. So a couple of times I actually took them to the cafeteria, because that's all I could really afford. But it was kind of having like a team meeting and get them a free meal, because, we weren't able to pay our guys very much. And don't get me wrong, the head coach wasn't making much money either, but it was still a great experience.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah, you made the best out of that, for sure.
Now, places to eat in the Valley. You've been gone a while now. You're retired in Bryan, and you're still part of the game. And you said you and your wife come down to the Valley. Have you ever had Wing Barn?
I haven't. No, and my wife and I both love wings. So yeah, I have not. No, sir.
We're definitely
for free Wing Barn right here. G's going to give you the gift certificate if you can guess the correct movie from his quote. Go ahead, G.
All right. The movie line is I'm gonna give you the movie line, and you got to give me the movie, Coach. The movie line is "Get busy living" or "Get busy dying."
Coach G, that's an easy one. That's Shawshank Redemption. I've probably seen it. I was probably 1,050 times. So that was. But it's funny, Coach G. That I love that line, because it's really about what I believe in life. I was a coach for 34 years at the Division I level, and prior to getting married, that's all I knew. I didn't have any children. I wasn't married. I did have my parents and siblings, but I was so focused on basketball. You're so consumed in it, and you guys already know this. I mean, you both have done wonderful things, coaching profession and dealing with player development and all that. But that's all you wake up and worry about. If you have 15, you're worried about them. So I tell my friends now, and I tried to live this even when I was coaching, but get busy living or get busy dying. Life's short. And when you're out of coaching, you realize there's a lot more to life than just basketball games or winning a sporting event. So I got the answer right. I know, because you threw me a softball. That was an easy one. Yeah.
I did. That was a coach pitch. Game right there. T-ball. That's good, though, Coach.
Let me ask you this question, Coach. Out of all the amazing players that you've coached, right, from the Paul Stalls to the Decks to the Collins, to the Brian Burrells. Hell, we didn't even talk about the times at Memphis when you were coaching Penny Hardaway, right? So shout out to Penny, who's doing great things at Memphis now as the head coach, right? But is there one particular like player that really, really stands out, you know, not just based on his athletic ability or, you know, his performance, but just as a person who he is, entangled with the way he plays or how he treats his teammates? Who's that one guy that just really stands out in your illustrious career of decades of coaching?
Well, you know, I could pick a lot of them, Matt, and I don't, just because I pick one doesn't mean those other guys weren't there. But you already mentioned his name, Paul Stoll. I mean, if you talk about a guy that when he crossed those lines, all he wanted to do was have his team win. And that's what I felt like I was about it as a coach. You know, you're trying to win, not win at all costs. I don't mean like cheat or, you know, win dirty. You know, just your focus is on that guy could have scored, you know, many more points than he did. He could have been selfish. But I think he was the heart and soul of that team that won 18 games. And, you know, we said the independent championship. He just wanted to win. And look at his career now. I didn't realize you guys had him on the show, but he's the highest player in Mexico. He's played all over the world. He's done so well. Personally, I've had like calls like Fran Fischella knew I coached Paul at Texas Pan Am. Fran does the ESPN broadcast for the Central American games and the Pan American, all that. And he would call me every time he knew he was going to do one of Paulie's games. He'd call me about a little story about Paul or whatever. And he's the one that told me he's outplayed the, you know, the American guards, the USA team, and you know, the Berea kid that played for Puerto Rico that played in the NBA. Paul has outplayed him. I think Paul Stoll, it's like a lot of players, you can say this about guys, but Paul could have played in the NBA. If he had one area that maybe they didn't love, it might have been his defense, and that was, again, just because of his size, but he was a great competitor. I still talk to him this day. I talked to a lot of the guys. I mean, because they were so important to the Pan Am success, and then important in my life because they were just wonderful people.
Yeah,
Coach, you're wonderful.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, you attract wonderful people, I think, Coach.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. You know, I was considered to be a good recruiter, and I think that's one of the reasons I got the opportunity at Pan Am. I felt like I did a good job recruiting players to the place I was at. And guys ask me all the time. I would ask established guys before I came up in the business, what's the success, or give me some tips. And, you know, if I could say thing I'd tell any young recruiter, it's recruit good people. If they're good people and they're good enough players, they don't have to be superstars. They'll develop, you know that, Coach Matt, they'll develop into great players where you can win. And that's what you're trying to do. Recruit good enough players, in my opinion, to win your conference. And then once you win your conference, then anything can happen after that, whether you go to the tournament or, you know, whatever it may be. So that's my philosophy. Recruit good kids. And I've been fortunate everywhere I've been. I've had good young.
Well, Coach, I want to kind of hit on that a little bit. You talked about your journey. What were, you know, and we've talked to some coaches, Coach Fig, now the current coach there, you know, was at Odessa. I know that you spent time in JUCO, you know. Talk about that connection. Like, what years were you at PJ? First of all, I want to hear about PJC because I have a, you know, soft spot with PJC. I was a women's basketball coach there for a few years, and the first time I met you was at one of those practices.
Right.
And I can recall I went in there, and you talk about like opening the doors for practice. I went in there, and I think Coach Justin Manus was the volleyball coach when you were there. I don't know if you remember him. Yeah.
Yep.
He's my wife's cousin. But I don't like to tell people that, you know, I don't claim him. No, he's a great dude.
He is unbelievable. You know, he said, he and I became very close. I was the AD there as well. So we would talk a lot about, you know, life in general, but what a great coach and a great person.
What a great dude. And so I went in there, I told him, I said, man, I'd like to go into practice and whatnot. And so I went in there. I went and sat at the very top of the bleachers. I didn't want to bother you. And I'll never forget this. You're running practice. You see me up there, and then you come up there and you sit with me and you start talking to me. While the guys are practicing, and I'm like, man, I've never seen a coach kind of come up and talk to a guy, and then but you're coaching. Like, I've never seen anybody be able to coach his team and carry a conversation at the same time. That's an art form, man.
I appreciate it, Coach G, but I try to make coaching a little bit more important and a little bit more difficult than it is. It's really just the right way, the best out of them. And I have a system that I tried to develop from all the years of coaching. It's not very complicated. I try to make sure the players understand what they're doing, and it's all about team. I'm not good when it comes to having a couple guys that are really tremendous players like Matt, Penny Hardaway. Sometimes it's hard to coach great players because they are so good. It's hard to implement them into a team structure and all that. So I have a lot of respect for guys that can do that. But yeah, coaching's wonderful. It's so fun, and the best feeling is when the players feel like they did the best they can good, and they could do, and they had success. That to me is there's nothing like winning, and it's fun. So I love it. And
you gotta give us your favorite JUCO story, though.
My favorite JUCO story.
Okay.
Well, yes. So I only coached. I got hey Matt, you'll appreciate this. I many stories. In fact, one day I'd like to write a book, and I got stories. Funny, but so I got fired at Pan Am, and I needed a job. Well, I wasn't going to coach. I was so kind of disappointed. I was going to take the year off. And Pam England, the president at Paris, when you were a wonderful lady, she convinced me to come and take the job. So I recruited a lot of junior college players. I never coached it. I hired a guy named Logan Lee, who Texas A&M, but he also played for Steve Green at South Plains Junior College. He played at the University of Hawaii as well. So I wanted someone that knew junior college guys, and I was trying to treat the guys like it was Division I. And Logan, you say, Coach, this is junior college. You don't have to worry. I think, and he's saying, no, they don't expect that. But I'll tell you this story. So we went on the road to play at Lee Junior College there in Baytown, and we had a little budget to stay in a hotel, so I was always looking. So we stayed at a La Quinta Inn, and we got up that morning to go eat breakfast. I don't know why this stands out, and I'm thinking about the game, and we go over our scouting report before we go over. It was like a 1 o'clock game that afternoon, and the waffle iron. You can make your own waffles in La Quinta. The waffle iron was shaped like the state of Texas, and so that's all the guys were talking about. Like before the game, I'm like, hey, we got a game to play here. I thought that was pretty cool too, but that's not the most important thing right now, that the waffle iron.
That's awesome, man.
They were good guys. And then another quick one. I got to tell you this. I know I'm way over my time, but this is how it shows you like you think you're important as a coach. We're playing at Trinity Valley Junior College, and they had a good team, and we're playing unbelievably well in the first half. I mean, we are beating the daylights out of them. Everything went right. I remember there was a scout there looking at our point guard, who ended up going to Iowa, and then our big kid. And they offered him. He was at Penn State at the time, and they offered him. He didn't want to go, but so we get in at halftime, and I run in there, and the guy. We always let the team go in first, and Logan and I would talk, and then we go in to talk to them. And I always wanted their attention. And if at halftime, the guys are trying to look at their phones and all that or whatever. So. I'm talking, and there's an ice maker in this locker room that we're in. One of those big commercial ice makers made a lot of noise. And as I start to talk, one of the guys goes over there and unplugs it. And so I thought, man, that's pretty cool. He couldn't hear me. So I say something to my assistant after they get out there. I said, I know we're going to play well in the second half. Those guys were really into it. They unplugged ice so they could hear you. And he said, Coach, they wanted to plug their phones in. You know, they,
yeah.
so that was kind of humbling. But that unfortunately, that's the truth. You know, those guys they did a good job, but they could care less what I really had to say. You know,
well, I tell you what, they
sticker that's shaped like Texas and a ice machine. You know,
that's awesome, man.
But we that was a fun experience. Junior college is a little different than Division I. I mean, the players are the same, but you just have so many more, you know, amenities and resources at the Division I level. So you kind of have to, you know, do it on the at junior college. But the kids are wonderful, and I feel like you have a better opportunity to influence their life than you do at the Division I level, because maybe they don't have the, and not all of them, but you know, some of them don't have the support at home, or maybe so
you're right, absolutely, 100%. Always loved that JUCO level.
It leads me to my next question, Coach. Whether you were at JUCO or whether you were at Pan Am on the road, would you ever take the guys to Jason's Deli?
Man, hey, I hope you give me a certificate there. I love Jason's Deli. Now we have one here, and it's I live in Bryan, but it's next to College Station. We have one at College Station. I'm always asking my wife to go with me, and she likes Jason's Deli. But I go. I love their salad bar and their sandwiches. Absolutely, I love Jason's Deli. One of my favorite. Probably the best value out there.
Yeah. Well, we got a speed round of questions that we're gonna sandwich together in this Jason's Deli speed round of questions, Coach. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. This segment is called This or That. All right. So I'm gonna give you two choices. You can't think too hard. All right. Just give me your answer, and then we'll move on to the next one. About 10 or 12 questions. All right. You ready?
Perfect.
Peanut butter or jelly?
Peanut butter.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Marinara or Alfredo?
Marinara. I'm Italian.
Yes, sir. Batman or Superman?
Superman.
Yes, sir. Fries or tater tots?
Fries.
All right. Drive or fly?
Fly.
Ferrari or Lamborghini?
Ferrari.
East or west?
West.
All right. Whales or sharks?
Sharks.
3-pointer or a layup, Coach?
Oh, 3-pointer all the way.
Oh, all the way, baby. Fruits or veggies?
Fruits.
Sunrise or sunset?
Got to go sunrise.
All right, baby. You know why you said sunrise? Because we got to get busy living.
It's
right. Got to get
absolutely. Andy Dufresne. That's right. Man, that's good. Do you always ask the guests the same questions?
No, because yes and no. I catered some of them because I knew you were Italian.
No, those are excellent. You know, those are good. It gets you thinking. But you know, the question you asked, there wasn't really a bad answer. All those things were fun.
Oh, great!
That's awesome, man.
They're all great.
Coach.
Yeah, they are all great, just like you. Coach Schuberth, thank you so much for joining us this week. We can't say enough about how blessed we are for you to take the time out of your schedule to come onto the show. So you were a godsend.
We really appreciate it.
Since
you've
kind of supported us. So thank you.
And I'm sure you're doing wonderful things there in the Valley. You know, when I first got the job there, I used to tell people it's like a hidden gem. It's a lot of people don't know about it. I mean, you have to want to go there. You just don't stumble on it. But it's a great place. I think Pan Am has a unbelievable potential. Unfortunately, when I was there were a couple people in charge that I thought didn't have a lot of direction, and that's why it hasn't really succeeded during their time. But what a great place, and you guys are doing wonderful. I'll look forward to listening and following you guys. And Matt, I'm going to yell at you when I come out to San Diego.
Please come out, Coach. It's perfect weather every day. It's 71 and sunscreen every day. So come on out.
I love it. Thank you.
All right. You have a great day, Coach Schu.
Thank you, fellas.
Take care. Be up.
All right.
like we weren't supposed to come up with something this clean. Like something happened.